season of snooze alarms sounding general quarters, nickels, dimes for change. Pomp display of reverence of the fallen, clearly for those failing daily. Ignorance of law enforcers, no excuse by now. Sign the oath and live it. Sign the oath and live it. It's funny till it's not funny. No touchy coppers. It's funny till it's not funny. No touchy coppers. No touchy coppers.
Good morning. I'm here for Lieutenant Lopez.
If he's available.
What did you need from him?
He knows that we were stopping by.
Okay.
When we spoke to him last week.
Thank you. Here we go. Awesome, man. How's it going?
Is there a place that we might be able to go that's not just out here? And is there a place that I can use the bathroom? I gotta really get a kind of pee if I can.
That we do not have it equipped here.
All right, you're not equipped. All right. Well,
So this was a school that the university ended up not doing, but
I'll sit down then.
Yeah.
Sit down with us. Just
I'm
trying
sorry.
to record things for the record.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I apologize. This one isn't. This wasn't built as a substation. This was built as a school, so there's still access to the building we don't even have.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Have a seat. Have a seat.
Yeah. Actually, let me stand for a
All
little
right,
bit.
cool.
Just because I need. Sorry.
I don't know how much you've had a chance to review the footage, if you're even allowed to review the footage that occurred, or speaking to the officers that were involved.
I did complete an additional report with information that I believe that you wanted included in there. As a supplemental to the original report and with some clarifying information that you've given me. And that one's still under the exact same case number as supplemental to the original.
Because
Excellent.
if you can remember, my major concern is, and I'm trying to impart upon you how important this is to me. I'm looking for that someone to be a hero here.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm wrong, I'd like to be told that I'm wrong lawfully, legally, because I don't want, the last thing that I have as an objective in the city of Albuquerque is to break the law, all right? And we did have that discussion with this Officer Cedillo. And I did bring in this fact that some time ago, we were both verbally trespassed from 505 Marquette.
Yeah.
And we have the body camera footage from that event.
Yeah.
And we can hear the way, and I know he's not under your command, but it's just someone within the department.
Mm-hmm.
In the language that was used and what he actually was investigating in his head at that time at the public defender's office was once again a very similar circumstances to what happened at the family center, where the officers came, Cedillo, and seemed to be more concerned about trespassing two individuals with a camera than actually taking our assault that occurred that day from one of the individuals there seeking services that felt that he was able to aggressively approach people and slap their papers out of their hand, and the public defender can just turn a blind eye and do a little text to Officer Hartsock, and Officer Cedillo comes. They greet them when in fact we're the ones that called the 911, because we want to hold people accountable. We don't want people to have that feeling that they can just walk up to people and do anything in an aggressive manner, right? So, did you get a chance to find me any clarification on this trespassing thing that's occurring? Because, and I only say this because in speaking to the 3 officers that night, the Durham that took my report, when I was saying that, well, I can't be, I'm telling her, I can't be trespassed from public unless I'm committing a crime, right?
Yeah.
And then she began to say, and it really troubled me, she says, well, that's not right. She says, if you're people like us, and I only can refer that if you're a cop, that we can trespass people. And we got into the deal about people drinking at the bus station and this kinds of thing, that metro that you can trespass people. And there's just too much ambiguity here. If these individuals are committing a crime, then arrest them. If they're not, then they're entitled to be where they're at. If they're harassing, if they're doing what people say that they're doing, the whole thing about interfering. As far as I know, interfering is supposed to be like a physical act. My words can't interfere with anything. And I try to be careful with my words because I want people to understand that I'm just not this kind of an individual that just listens to authority unless I respect the authority, kind of thing, because I understand that it's coming from knowledge, not just practice. So with that, can you explain these trespassing laws to me as far as being able, because I've only encountered being trespassed from a police station, under threat of arrest, leaving the police station, going over to the mayor's office, and then being trespassed from there for doing nothing. Of course, you understand, I've already informed you about the lawsuit, and I won't get into all the particulars on that, but so that kind of put things in a certain light. I'm trespassed from the police station for committing no crime to try to get some questions answered, similar to what I'm doing today. And it's been a year since I've had the opportunity to actually be afforded somebody like yourself to actually sit down and at least listen, right? So for a whole year to be dismissed, and the only people that I've been able to say this to is within a 2-minute or a 3-minute public comment.
At the city council?
At the city council. Now, I'll use that till my dying day to bring out the issues that I see are wrong in Albuquerque and things that they might not be life-threatening to some people. And I'm not trying to be a Karen or a Darren that's just gonna report somebody's dog crapping on my sidewalk and you better send somebody down right away. That's not my style. But when there's a serious issue, the homeless, people being trespassed, going to jail, people not being treated with the respect that they should have based on either their color or their hair length or the clothes that they're wearing, or in some cases the smell that they might put off. So I don't have a big fear about being arrested for a serious crime because I don't commit serious crimes. Seems lately I have to worry about, I've been living in Albuquerque for 7 years, and just recently it seems that I get these little mail-in tickets, right, for doing 44 and a 35 kind of thing.
Yeah, those are fresh.
You know what I'm saying? So I can't say it's because of my activism that somebody's going into the system and saying, boy, if this guy comes by the camera, make sure he gets a 10-mile-an-hour ticket. But when you get 3 of them in a 2-month period, and I'm not a guy that speeds, most of the time I get honked at.
Yeah. Actually had an incident similar to that on my way to work today.
And I understand the police culture. believe me, I understand, right? Because you guys do have to deal with a lot of wing nuts. It's just that, and I understand it, you know, you guys have to be the hammer, but you can't look at everybody as the nail. And what happens is, and I know, I used to be a, you know, I've been in the kind of the industry, right?
So with the public defender's office, I did not look into that. I was looking more specifically into the issues on Silver at the Family Advocacy Center.
Yeah.
And that was the additional supplemental report that I wrote to summarize our conversation that all of us had last week. I included the concerns about the way the security guy kept grabbing his generals and shaking it, and that was more in depth and from what you guys told me.
Because we put out a small short, you know, I mean, I have things that, I gave you a channel name, we try to, like I said, to put out stories, good things in the community.
Yeah.
Like where I live, and one of the counselors came, put on a little bet, and the guys in uniform came and played football and soccer with the kids. It was just a nice little production.
Yeah.
You know? But then, you know, I don't go looking for the trouble. I just try to go to a building and try to, you know, it ain't like before where you can just, you know, walk in and shake somebody's hand like the sneeze guards and everything else in the place now. No bathrooms in public buildings.
Yeah, this is
you know,
this is just a unique facility.
you know,
they're trying to
but
expand.
even the main police station,
Yeah.
as far as for the public, because the main police station is really not for the public.
Yeah.
You know.
Like I said, I even got sent back to my car when I didn't have my badge and credentials, which was understandable.
I mean, yeah, I don't mind giving up a little bit of that, you know, liberty for everyone's safety. But when I go to the courts, because some group of people that work within the courts feel afraid of anyone with a camera, that they can entice a judge 12 years ago to write a judge's order, which to me doesn't give the people transparency. I understand that in certain courtrooms and family, you know, kids involved and that there'd be, you know, an area that would be that restricted kind of a thing where you need to have a case pending to be able to go in. But to me, anywhere that the public can go, my eyes can go, I should be allowed to have my camera. But if a judge in New Mexico writes an order that's unconstitutional, the only way that you can fight that order is to have standing. So you have to go and challenge the order so that when you are not permitted to go into the public areas, the counters, to be able to talk about a pending case, yours or someone else's case in public. And you're told that only credentialed members of the press are allowed in with their cameras. It's kind of like they have the system, they don't have the understanding of what.
And do you know, I'm uneducated on this portion, do you know who grants the news or the public access to that? So you said that if you have your credentials, the media credentials, who grants that?
Nobody. I can write one out with a crayon. In fact, we have people that do that to be just
Right here.
more or less facetious.
I mean, I made this at home.
Anyone is in
So they have-
elements of the First Amendment that's afforded to us in the Constitution.
They have-
The right to religion.
Much like your department here or the police station downtown would have a public relations officer, something like that. The courts would have the same thing. But as far as credentialed media, that's a made up concept because the First Amendment
We call
covers
them
press.
mainstream media, because they tend to want to follow the party lines, and if there's a story they want to put out, they want to give it their unique narrative, you might say. because you can say things one way, they mean, to some people, they mean what they mean, and to others, it's,
And being nice gets you a long way. So when the mainstream media comes in, they do get that front row seat
Yeah.
because they're nice to they put out a nice story, which is kind of hard if you're like just a regular like journalist, James O'Keefe. You know, he does undercover stories and then put something out, and he might not get a front seat because they know who he is, and they say, "Oh, you obviously know that you can be in here, unlike some people, but we're gonna put all the people we want up front," and that's kind of what happens.
so, I'm a technician at heart. I'm an engineering technician. I've worked on nuclear power safety features in my career. So I understand that when there's a problem, that you really can't start at one end. You need to get right in the middle, because you're gonna eliminate half your issues by starting in the middle.
Yeah.
Right, I explained this to my wife the same way. I said, "You got a beef with, you're upset with me, girl. Don't start picking at this and have to get way to the end to talk about it. Let's just talk about it."
And I gotta imagine you guys, as officers, kind of do the same thing. Kind of have to throw yourself right in. Kind of the same thing. Same
So
concept.
when I come to Albuquerque, and 2 years ago, when officers came to my home answering a welfare check, because some officers, as I see it, in my humble opinion, didn't like being redressed on the phone. I mean, how do you hurt somebody 3 states away on a phone with what your words are if you're not using threatening words or inciting words? And it's only after you've got recorded calls where you've made numerous attempts in trying to meet with somebody or to speak with somebody. Kind of like if I came here today and you blew me off, or you didn't want to talk to me. It's within your right, but it wouldn't look good on you, right? Well, it didn't look good on these cops or sheriffs in Florida. When rather than try to deal with the mistake that they made and own it, they wanted to continue to utilize that retaliatory kind of a thing, and so in our attempts
Reach out to the good old boy system through Albuquerque.
We're heading to the records department today and trying to do another ask, because in reading the report on that, they haven't been able to provide us the 911 call because they claim it wasn't a 911 call, it was a teletype. But if we read the teletype carefully, it did say that Florida was requesting a return on the outcome. So I'm assuming that there's probably a teletype that was sent from Albuquerque to Florida to let them know what happened as an outcome of the so-alleged
No doubt.
welfare check that they wanted conducted on somebody, that during its conducting, we were told 3 different reasons for the officers to be there. It started out to be a welfare check that turned into a disturbance that turned into
Don't call Florida.
don't call Florida. Now, if you're truly it seems like if you're truly doing a welfare check, you wouldn't be like giving people directives of what they can and can't do lawfully. And quite frankly, I tried to conduct business at the substation at the Foothills. We had a new commander there, or at least he was new about 6-7 months ago.
Commander Jones.
Yes.
On the way home, after dropping some records off or out making a records request with Ethan Watson at the records department, we realized that we had forgot something. We wanted to get the officers' standard operating procedures kind of thing, and that surround things like that. So we went to the Foothills Division, went up to the window. I had my little Post-it note with what I was asking for. I gave it to the guy at the thing, and I said, yeah, I'd like to put a records request in. He goes, well, you gotta do that online. And I began, explaining to him, I said, well, no, I says, if I could actually go to the dog catcher and ask to have a records request put in. It isn't that the dog catcher is gonna fulfill my request, but it's the dog catcher's responsibility to take the request and forward it to the proper people, right? And all you need from me when I ask to have a record is I get to give you an email. I don't have to tell you where I live. I don't have to tell you, what my name is and all these different things. I just have to give you. Well, we asked it for a supervisor. One of the guys comes out, a lieutenant maybe, or a commander, or somebody looking like yourself, and
It was a lieutenant.
you gotta understand that, when I feel like I've been burnt, I'm hot, right?
Naturally, yeah.
So I might not come across as nice as I am capable of, right? But like I was telling the 3 officers, I just have a very low tolerance for bullshit. I've just lived my life maybe different than a lot of people have, and even though I was in the military and I've seen a lot of things, I try not to let that skew me, right? So that's why, for me, having been trespassed from the police department and then had to give up my 4th Amendment under the threat of arrest at the mayor's office, then going to Santa Fe to get a record about police, whether or not they've actually signed their oaths of office, and then spend the night in jail because I'd be in trespass under very similar circumstances, like I said before. Then go to the public defender's office to check on something, and more concerned about trespassing us than taking the report for the crime that occurred there. Actually going to the Equity, Inclusion, and Civil Rights Division of the city, walking in there with the camera and asking the question, and the guy there says, "Are you filming me?" I go, "Yeah." He said, "Well, I can't talk to you then." I said, "Wait, is this the Office of Civil Rights and Equity Inclusion that I'm in?" You don't understand that as, if people that are working for the public can't get into that in working for the public, they do give up some rights. You don't have, in uniform, you don't have all the rights. Believe it or not.
Oh no, I believe.
No.
I believe.
You're actually you're not forfeiting them. You're stating that you're willing to put some of your rights aside in exchange for the contract, which you swear an oath to.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And because of the movement that's going on in the country today that involves people's civil rights, where certain political factions think that they can bring in the federal troops, and if they see somebody of color or see somebody that may sound like they're not from here, we're just gonna whisk them up, right? And then in 3 or 4 days, we'll figure out whether or not they're actual Americans.
Right. That part
Or
is
they
so
find
concerning.
out that there's a decorated veteran that fought for his country in the Korean War that's, hasn't really assimilated well within the country because he still speaks Filipino. He finds himself sent back to the Philippines, a country that he hasn't never been to, right? I'm getting a little off track, but I'm big on people's rights. there's certain things, even within the Constitution, that says that in the justice system, I'd just soon let 10 people that are guilty go than to put one innocent man in jail. So when I've lived my life with that, knowing that I'm here to get a record, and I'm finding that people don't want to give me the record simply because I'm holding the camera, which is I'm legally entitled to do. And if these people that are not wanting to give me the record or not wanting to discuss with me as to why I'm being trespassed, or not wanting to discuss, or not, they just want to call the cops and trespass me. Some of these individuals have actually signed or at least taken the oath, for whatever that means to them personally. Like with the gal here, we have her recording. We were explaining to her about Chief Medina not having signed his oath, and that he hasn't signed his oath because he claims to be like a conscientious objector kind of thing. But at the same time, he does, from what I understand, administer the oath to other individuals, but it's not requiring them to actually sign. And as I said before, I'm not interested in overturning all the different arrests that have occurred in Albuquerque from police that technically haven't signed their oath of office. So what we were saying before with this DUI scandal, something similar to it invalidates,
Create shaky ground.
It invalidates their validity as an officer.
Yeah, and my oath was sworn in by a judge.
Yeah.
Right, well, we kind of went like that. Well, that means that the judge is going to accept responsibility for it, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I mean, he passed away, but he's generally one that would swear in the cadets and once we were completing the police academy.
Right. So when the oath is signed, what that actually does is it's like a contract, and it's liability, right? And so there's states throughout the United States that do the word of mouth contract and honor the word of mouth contract, and you can go to court and say, well, I said this and this was what was said by him, blah blah blah, and the judge will sort that out. But when it comes to the oath, that becomes a little bit more serious. And so when arrests are made and then an oath is signed, the liability then lies on the officer himself because he signed the oath. But if there is no signed oath, what that means is it's word of mouth. So then in other words, the person who swore you in is the one who's accepting responsibility because it falls down to liability, right? The word liability means a written, signed contract. And so what it does is, like you said, it creates a scenario where arrests kind of don't really have legitimacy, legal consequences, because of a contract that would need to be signed because that's what the oath is. So it creates shaky ground, and nobody's interested in criminals who've actually committed crimes going free, right? And so this is why, he brings it up to many officers all the time about how you guys really should and ought to check into it. And yes, there is a provision that says or affirmed, but what affirmed means is the swear in, right? Not the signing. But that what that does is, if you're doing this, the swear in, that the next person up actually has the full liability. And so the New Mexico statute does require it to be signed, and then it's sent off to Santa Fe within 10 days, that signed oath. And you can actually go on the website and find that signed oath.
See, to me, it just doesn't make sense that if the Constitution and the government in general is requiring people like yourselves, the mayor, the council people, the judicial branch, the
Judges have to sign too.
all having to sign their oaths of office, then, because we have certificates
Right,
oaths of
peace
office.
officer.
Peace, not a peace officer certificate, the actual oath of office.
Oh, for the other,
Right.
yeah, for the mayor
Actually
and the
signed oaths of office for the mayor, all council,
councilors.
the sheriffs, some of the people that we've dealt with the sheriff's department.
Santa Fe,
Some of the members at
state police.
state police
Yeah,
signed oaths of office.
right.
But we haven't yet defined
One single one
office.
from APD.
And I've explained it to the council. I says, maybe it's just, it just some little thing that someday they didn't have the papers there and they didn't reorder them from Kinko's or whatever it is, they just didn't get done. They got a new guy in. How did we do it last time? This is the way we do it. And for a long time, they just operated that way. And nobody
Yeah.
challenged it.
In fact, the affirmation technically, so the reason that they do the or affirmed is because there are times when, you know, an officer needs to be sworn in quickly because there's trouble on the street. But then once arrests are made, everything cools down. You've got a 10-day period where you can actually sit down and sign that oath to ensure that Santa Fe has it. That's what that purpose of the affirmation actually technically is supposed to be for. But to just kind of ignore it altogether and just claim conscientious scruples brings up the question, if you have conscientious scruples, then why do you continue to carry the badge and the firearm and are willing to take lives if necessary and to put people in a cage if necessary, you know, lock people up and that sort of thing? Because conscientious scruples it just doesn't qualify. Because here's the thing, you know, somebody like Jehovah's Witnesses, for example, they have what's called conscientious scruples. So they can say, I have conscientious scruples against the draft, and then they can be they can go and not have to be drafted. That's what conscientious scruples is really about. It's that religious conviction that I can't possibly pull a trigger. I can't do it because I have conscientious scruples. But an officer who's willing to go past that 10-day mark because, you know, hey, you know, this kind of makes sense that I need to do this. This is something I have to do. I have to continue on my journey as a good, solid, oath-taking American. Well, then you've got 10 days to make that decision, you know? And so, yeah, the oath is that important. It really is.
And see, for us, I've only been doing this maybe close to 2 years. And what got me involved was that incident that occurred at my home.
Yeah.
Now, there's other individuals out there in all 50 states and probably some of the territories that do exactly what we do, but they do it a little differently. They'll come in to an establishment like yours. They'll get their little video footage. They'll run back. They'll edit it up. They'll throw it out there. They want that drama. And they never follow up. They kind of like, they get the trespass warning that doesn't have a way to fight it, doesn't have how long it is on it, and just say that, oh, well, I just won't bother that anymore. But for us, I think of other people. I don't just think of myself. I'm saying if shit like this can happen to me, I mean, I'm not a saint, don't get me wrong, but I'd like to think that I've lived my life well enough. My father gave me a name, right? And the last thing I want to do is tarnish it, right? So when an unlawful arrest happens to me, or an unlawful trespass happens to me, and I have to give up my identification, that 6 months from that point, another unlawful arrest happens to me, or an unlawful detainment, and I don't have to give up my identification at that incident. A report gets written and it says later identified as, and it makes reference to a later identified as person that was, in my opinion, was unlawfully arrested. So this you know how credit card companies are. You got your right to privacy, you know? And they sign your privacy agreements all the time because if you don't want your name out there for every Tom, Dick, and Harry that may not like the fact that I have the strength and conviction to fight for my rights, as opposed to just lay down and accept whatever someone tells me that's misinformed, or because some people don't know the difference. I think we talked about it last time. You know, Supreme Court says you can ask me for my driver's license anytime if I'm walking down the street. You can ask me, right? That doesn't mean that I have to give it to you, but there's people out there, sure, officer, no problem, here it is. Because they don't, you know, for them, they think that they might be, you know, making your job easier. But in fact, in theory, and you know as very well as I do, that one thing leads to another. It's the same reason people get asked, you know, where are you going, where are you coming from, because you're trying to build a profile. We know this. I guess it's when you know is when it's the most painful. If I didn't know and I just lived the rest of my life la 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 and didn't care, just do my business and everybody la 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 didn't care, then it would just perpetuate the shit that's going on. And hopefully you might be able to help me out with this.
With the trespassing
why
thing
this trespassing
continues to occur.
continues to occur.
Yeah.
And what?
Specifically against you or in general?
Well,
if it's occurring
both.
to me,
Both.
you can
Both.
only imagine some of the other
Yeah.
individuals that it's just easy to give somebody a big piece of pink paper
Yeah.
after they've dealt with the cops. It says, don't go there. Well, are they explained? Do they get explained that, you know, if you need to access services at the place that we're trespassing you, that you can still access service? You know, I'd like to think that I know the trespassing laws fairly good. So when I keep getting a contradiction of what my knowledge is of it,
Well, I'm just imagining, say, like an older teenage boy who is being abused, going into that center and asking for help. But because of the nature of what happened with us, when I see something like that happen to someone who's pretty clean cut, I mean, I got the ponytail and the beard, but other than that, pretty clean guy. And if I have something like that happen to me and holding a camera, I've got to imagine that teenage boy, because, with females and children, it's maybe a little bit different, or older people, maybe it's a little bit different. Somebody who's fragile, but say, a decent sized teenage boy, but in truth, he's being abused and he goes in there, what kind of treatment is he getting? And maybe he's not dressed perfectly. Imagining a young black male, right? Maybe he doesn't wear a belt, his pants are too big, but one day he decides, I need to get some assistance, and where best to go than a place like that. And so, or the police, well, no, the DVRC.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
or the public defender's office, or any police station, or any police officer at all. And I mean, like I said, I don't look crazy, but I know I also have, like I said, the ponytail, but I'm fairly clean. So even if I'm treated like that, I can't imagine that someone who is less fortunate or in a position where naturally people on the street look at him and say, I don't want to be near that guy, where he's not getting any help from anybody on the street, And then he goes into a place where it's expected that he would get some help and then gets treated basically the same way that I got treated, where he got treated. I can't imagine what would happen in that scenario because I'm like 40 years old. So I've been through the ringer. He's an older gentleman. He's been through the ringer. He kind of has reserved himself in a lot of situations, and he's learned, I need to slow my roll. But a young teenage boy, he's learning things. He's looking for help. He can't get it there if he's treated the same way. Absolutely. So the trespassing thing is a major concern at this point. Because like you mentioned, the police station,
I'd
the
like to
mayor's
think-
office.
I'd like to think that I shouldn't have to sue the city or the police or business establishments
In order to
get
resolve
change.
the matter.
However,
Yep.
if that's what I have to do, I have no problem doing that. However, I do understand how the law works. And if you're familiar with the rules of civil procedure and criminal procedures, rule number 1 states that whatever's happening between the two parties basically should be held and dealt with in the most cost-effective, time-saving effort so that we're not unduly burdening
The court.
the courts
Yep.
with minuscule little.
Anything handled outside of court is
Rule
better.
Rule 1.
That's rule 1.
Try to
Yeah.
talk it out first.
Yeah.
So, as I said, being a technician, if I used to go to a job, there'd be a toolbox there. All I had to do was look at the toolbox to know what I was gonna be able to get accomplished here today if I needed to accomplish it. So I kind of treat, my efforts in my activism the kind of the same way. I try to do things maybe a little bit different, thinking outside the box. For example, most people that do what we do it by themselves. And to me, that's kind of dangerous.
Dangerous
for the
work.
individual doing it by themselves.
Yeah.
And there are people out there that, maybe the way they do it, I wouldn't agree with, but maybe they don't agree with the way I do it. They look at me as, well, wait a minute, you're just getting in and you're just trying to kiss a cop's ass and get something, information. I'm legitimately trying to work the system within the system.
Yeah. Which leads me to the question, when you say some of these individuals go by themselves, are they the individuals looking for a news story or conducting activism?
Believe it or not, they're conducting activism that turns into a news story,
Okay.
just like what's happening today.
Okay.
Right? If there was no issues going on in Albuquerque, there wouldn't be people like me asking questions. But when someone's been done wrong, whether it's a Rosa Parks or it's a Martin Luther King or I can't think of the gentleman's name. He was a big grape picker in Florida that was putting the migrants to work back in the 70s and 80s. Cesar Chavez. You got the issue with the indigenous people.
Right.
I
So
know
it's
I can't change
kinda
the
like-
world like that. I'm happy to make small, significant changes as opposed to a lot of little things.
well, it's kind of like this. So because the camera is on the phone now,
Yeah.
people are able to just simply document their various travels. And sure, there's people who go record in places well within public that somebody sees it and says, how come they're able to do that? And in their mind, they're saying, I don't believe that they are able to do that. And then they draw this conclusion at that point that the next step would be to call the police.
Yeah.
right? But the truth, of course, is that press is a right. And so being that way, a person on a sidewalk filming a bank, or a person walking into a DMV filming, that's well within their legal right. And it should be done. It should be done. Because if they don't do it, one, people won't be educated. They'll literally continue to think that way. It's like, oh, they're not allowed to film in public. Or then the people who are acting improperly will never be caught doing what they are doing that's wrong on camera. The camera, to me, is a friend. I don't do anything
To
wrong.
me, it's a documentation device, because when you get to be my age, I might mix up the second floor and the fourth floor of a building that I go to, and so when I'm trying to trace my steps just using my brain and not actually go back and review my own body camera. You know, if you're entitled to have body camera in front for you, and what your dealings with the public, why shouldn't I be able to have? And I do. That's the whole point. But they see me as an individual with a camera, but yet they're willing to call someone like you that's got the same camera.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about that is, so with your camera, when it comes to the records, there's actually a legal obligation to protect people's privacy, right? Now, a honorable journalist will also consider that and have what's called integrity and protect people's privacy. So if I like walk by and there happens to be a child in the frame, I'm going to try to either delete it or blur it out, because that's integrity, right? It's to protect privacy. Or if somebody's saying their numbers out loud or their name, stuff like that. Sure, integrity is no problem for me. You
It's
know,
not the gathering of the information, it's the dissemination of it. Is where you run into the issue.
right,
For us, these weren't a choice. We didn't have a choice with these.
Right, right.
These-
And there's officers out there in different communities that they'll probably end up quitting as soon as they have to wear the camera.
there are literally Florida's really bad.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been on long enough to have years without it, and it's just become part of me.
Well, I would imagine it probably makes the job easier too, because you can actually go back and look and see if you were correct in your
And I know,
writing.
I know, I've not burned out any time, I probably was about 5 minutes left. So when something happens, for example, that public defender's office, and the way the officer that handled that and trespassed us and then didn't take the assault report seriously, or didn't, I'm sure that officer should be able to have the authority to have gone back into the defender's back office and found the individual that he just saw on camera assaulting somebody. Yeah, there was no blood and guts and nothing like that, but it's still an assault that occurred. That individual had no business coming in between us and the public defender's office, trying to educate her on our ability to be in that public space recording, right?
Right.
There's signs up in there that says, telling us that
Know your rights. And
know
all
your
that,
rights.
literally.
Interacting with police, you make sure that you film them.
Yeah, they did that
But if
too.
if I'm in the public defender's lobby, I can't film. Well, wait a
So
minute.
funny.
Because I'm holding the camera and walking in, am I filming or am I just holding my camera?
Yeah.
I do something where I do this and put it around my neck.
So,
Who's gonna walk up to me and say, "Are you filming anybody?" I go, "No, I'm just FaceTime. In case my phone rings, I ain't gonna go in my pocket." So let me just land the plane here.
yeah, please.
When that guy at the public defender's office, that police officer, and those two security officers that were there asked for the police report, not maybe because they're interested in having the police report, because they wanted to know who we were. Okay? Well, we only gave him our ID because we were reporting a crime that occurred. Now that same officers, using his previous knowledge of who we were to report a crime to him, are now freely going to
The database.
Create a data, and freely send that security guard a copy of the report. Because it was asked for on his body camera, and he says, sure, no problem.
He for some reason he don't have to go to Ethan Watson.
Yeah, or like here, the girls here told us, and I said, what can you say? I'm only operating on previous knowledge. Figured if the guy at the public defender's office could just ask the police officer to send them the copy of the report, save me the trouble. Oh, no, you can't do that. You gotta go to the clerk's office and get it. And I said, well, that's funny. The cop at the public defender's office is just gonna mail him a copy or email him a copy.
And I love that you guys have this up here too, by the way, right here. It tells you what kind of reports you can get, and there's actually another one over there. And these records could be requested right here, but we do deal with Ethan a lot, so we end up going down there.
Now, we've actually had to be that guinea pig.
Yeah.
And run through. I don't really want to ever run through the cage again in Santa Fe, simply because there was officers there that got butthurt that we exercised our rightful First Amendment right and went to jail. And now I'm sitting back here seeing that we got these guys working at a family center, we're shaking their nuts. And being told by 3 officers that he's just exercising his freedom of speech.
Were you actually able to look at the video that we uploaded?
The ones from the Family Advocacy
Yes.
Center, you know, I was able to look at those. I wasn't able to pull them. I didn't know whose body cam I was looking for.
Okay, so because
And
the young lady gave us a
case
link.
number, I didn't have, because I think that was our conversation last time, to see if it was uploaded.
Okay.
The link and I couldn't find it.
Okay,
Doesn't mean it's not there.
right.
It means that
You just have
I'm not as technically savvy as some of these other people who are able to locate things like that.
Sure.
Me, I type in the case number. I'm just trying to see what's available.
So just like the signs oaths of office, if that continues and continues and continues, or trespassing people from public and then using their information in a different trespass that shouldn't occur, and then not having to give up information there, but then says identified, now as, it just instills in these security guards, because when you do watch the video, I mean, if you don't get a chance to watch it, I did give you my email address. And I don't give my channel name out, but I'm sure that the folks in Albuquerque in the legal department, they all know our channel. Because it's not a shit channel. It's this channel that puts up, I've got only 400 subscribers, but I get 6,000-7,000 people watching. Because it's the truth. I'm not trying to sugarcoat anything. I'm not trying to skew it one way. I'm not anti-police. I just want good police.
It's understandable, yeah.
And there's people in the country that are doing the same thing I do, that have millions of subscribers, right? They're trying to bridge that gap
Right.
so that people can be free to do what's afforded to them. And I know if I go to Walmart and I start walking around the women's department with my camera, right? Or going to the change rooms and do that crazy stuff, well, yeah, Walmart don't want me in there, no problem. But if I go into a police station and I'm not doing anything that's related to that, I'm just in the police station trying to speak to somebody, and I'm now going to be trespassed for that. And now that I'm pissed because you're doing something unlawful to me, you're violating my rights, as small as that sounds to some people, I got every right to be there. And if I haven't, just because someone that's like yourself's got a gun and a badge telling me that, well, if you don't go, I'm going to have to arrest you. Well, I've never been arrested in my life until Santa Fe.
Yep.
Right? And if I have to go through a process like that, and then when it comes time for the court to try to say what you arrested me for was you had probable cause,
Well, here's
and
the
you
thing.
didn't, and it's just, oh, sorry, oopsie.
Here's the thing too, just so you know, just so you're aware, somebody doesn't have to be arrested to have their rights violated. Under threat of arrest, if somebody is required to provide their ID and they haven't committed a crime or they're not being trespassed, that's a violation. So this is exactly how it happened at the mayor's office. This is why when we're talking about these trespassing things, right? All these people around town who've been unlawfully trespassed have had their rights violated, regardless of whether they were arrested and went to jail or not. They don't have to be arrested. So that ends up being, it actually ends up being a class action if enough people file suit and join together on it, which is even worse, right? So it really is something that needs to be resolved. I'm glad that you have gone back and checked out the report. That is great. It'll be great whenever you have the chance to look at the video.
Because the same officers that were involved in the public defender's office snafu, there's a 4-part series I did. Right? I probably got as many views on it as I have subscribers on that. I'm not in it for the hits, the clicks. If I don't make a nickel on YouTube, I'm not there for that reason. I'm not trying to have 1 million subscribers. I'm happy if I never grew another bit. Just that, because most of the time they take my material and it gets thrown to a bigger channel anyway.
The goal is to bridge the gap.
Because most of the time, it's happened to us. We've had our channel taken down twice. Either because the city or some city official didn't like the way they got portrayed. Sorry, it is what it is. This camera doesn't say, oh, beep, 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 bad, bad, bad. No, it just catches what it catches.
For every social media platform, there's 10 more. So, it's not like we're going to stop just because we had our channel taken down either,
So if you get a chance, that Let's OTVO was my Gmail, at gmail.com. That was my email address, but it's Let's OTVO is my YouTube handle. Okay. Now there's a 4-part series about the public defenders, and if you just go to the last one, 4, that's the interaction that Sodello had after we left, talking to Dedica Torres and the security staff, and things were asked for by security, and he, no problem, I'll send it to you, and well, they're just going to have to not come here again. We're just going to farm it out to some. Well, all this because we had the audacity to exercise our right as a member of the public to come in and ask questions of the public defender's office and how the system works, so that I might be able to go back and put out a nice story about the public defender. We went to a Chrome and Coffee
and Chrome, yeah.
Coffee and Chrome thing for the biker cops at one of these coffee shops. We walked in, we had our cameras, we went about a little bit early, we told the guy we're going to be here to film. We set up our camera. We didn't walk around getting everybody's face, we just set up a camera. While the camera's being set up, the owner kept coming up to us. Well, my employee doesn't want to be on camera. Oh, okay, no problem, we do the editing.
Yeah, we do the editing.
5 minutes later. So how are we working on that?
I told him,
A couple minutes later.
Man,
are
look,
you sure
you're making a big, I told him, you're making a big deal out of this. So no, you're making a big deal out of this. So I'll tell you what, we'll talk to the police about it, which are right there.
We asked the gal from the city that's with us, how much time we got left? She says,
10 minutes. Yep.
Tell the guy, he says, well, as long as you're taking the money or want to open up your business to the public and put on a public event advertised for the public, you're going to have to understand that there may come a time like today that you're going to have individuals with integrity that are going to set up a camera and try to talk to officers, because that's what it's there for, a meet and greet. But even in that video, the officers are very reluctant to even want to talk to us, because they'd say, well, I just let you know I'm not going to answer any of your questions. We got a PIO for that. And I'm going, well, what am I here for if I can't ask you questions?
For a meet and greet.
For a meet and greet. What,
So
just so you
silly.
guys can come and get free coffee and I pay my $10 for a cup? To try to have I had a very hour-and-a-half conversation with one of the city officials that was there. You know, I've made numerous positive connections within the community. It's just that everybody's got their little thing, you know. There's only so much that they feel that they can do without stepping outside their political boundaries that they set for themselves. But I'm just this guy that will go to public places and film. And it's not because I'm interested in,
When you started doing that, did you ever expect the type of backlash that you received?
I don't think he did, but I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. I actually really did.
so
But
this
I
is
know he
why
didn't.
rather than walk in with a stick that shouldn't make a difference. You know, people say, well, that's a weapon. You know, it's going to hit me with it. Or like the gal at the
Santa Fe.
Santa Fe,
I mean,
in her
it's
report, she says, oh, it's on
Yeah,
a pole.
that's
He's gonna
exactly
stick it
what
in
it's
the
for.
hole, you know?
Yeah.
And anything to try to turn the narrative around to the simple fact is, she refused to take our IPRA request at the Secretary of State's office, where we're trying to ascertain whether or not maybe the city of Albuquerque's police department's public records of their signed oaths of office are being held there and not available to Ethan Watkins at the city.
Yeah.
And in that event, we were allowed to go back to the window, and then when they still wouldn't provide service to us, the cops tell us that we have to leave. Why? Because they don't want you here.
So,
Well, yeah, we'll leave on the threat of arrest. Go to another place. You've already been trespassed from here, like they did with the city, the mayor's office. No, we're
Walk
just
over to
going
another building.
to try to
Yeah.
get this issue resolved.
literally walk over to another building.
For the last year, everywhere we've gone to try to resolve the issue has just created another issue. So now we have this city that we're suing because of the unlawful arrest at the mayor's office, because we were there to talk about what just happened to us at the police station. Then now we've got the public defender stuff, we've got the Chrome and audit stuff, we've got what happened at the family center, what happened at the civil rights office, what happened.
Thank goodness
at
I haven't been
Mexico.
trespassed from the balloon festival.
There's a story, one of the last stories we did, and it's dated April 1st is when it occurred. One of the people like ourselves went to the ethics office at your campus over here. The ethics office, we went there
Yeah.
to ask some questions about the ethics office people. He went in there and these ethics office people went off on him, trying to get, calling security
And the police
and
came.
police, and he says, no, I can't take your public record. He had to go explain to him, said, I don't want you to fulfill it, I just want you to take it. Where's the ethics here? It's kind of like if you're the police and I need to have some policing done, so I said, if the police haven't been able to handle me, let me go do a follow-up at the ethics department and see if there's anything's changed there. Same security guard, same property management person. You walk in there, there's a training going on in the auditorium. We try to go down to the ethics office. There's a big sign on the wall. The ethics office is now closed to the public. Any inquiries, send it to this .gov email address. Well, how the hell can you have a public office that's not available to the public, right? So we started to ask the people in the auditorium if they knew anything. During our conversations there, they didn't like the camera and were trying to tell us that we had to leave the auditorium. And as far as I know, that auditorium, whether or not it's being rented out to whoever, it's still a public space.
Yeah, the university is public, and these
So
classes, you can go into
discharge
them.
me from that space. I mean,
Not all of
we
them,
have
but
decorum,
majority of them.
But to tell us that we can't, so now we've got people, we leave on our own accord. Then this gal comes out and actually places hands on him to push him out of the way. He says, well, hey, what are you doing? That's assault. You can't put your hands on me, regardless of the level, degree of, it wasn't like, hey, excuse me, sir. It was like, pushed him.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're asking, now she sees me, because she knows that he's not alone. And then she does apologize on camera. But when I'm asking her for her name, she's not giving it to me. Come to find out, she's like a federal officer, right? And it just gets crazy, because when we went to the property management office to find out why the door was locked, the same gal comes out. Oh yeah, she says, we got other offices in there, it's locked now. Well, wait a minute, it's a public space, but, well, let me check with my director just a minute. 8-10 minutes later, security guard's coming up the hall. Well, guess who called? He goes in, spends about 20 minutes in there, at least 10, comes out and says, well, she's on the phone right now. She's busy. Well, how long is she going to be? He goes, oh, I don't know. It could be days. And then he goes, what? You mean days, months, years? Yeah. Oh, okay. So
Then we ask him for his name, badge number, which he doesn't legally have to provide for us, but it would be a courtesy. And he did have the badge number, so I ended up, putting the camera to it so that it could see it. So he's identified at that point. It's like, why act unprofessional? If I'm going to find out who you are, and then I can put that complaint in, and I don't want to,
So
but
on my way out, if it hadn't been for what occurred at the family center, and it hadn't been this Officer Cedillo that came in late with another officer that he had in training, that now, after whatever occurred inside the family center is all done and over with, I haven't seen any reports from those officers that were actually inside there telling the uniformed staff to get out of the way of the fire doors to allow me in, right? And they did, right? But I don't see any reports from that. It's that after we told them that it looks like things are quieted down, the supervisors arrived, let's take it outside. So we took it outside. And the Cedillo, who's training somebody, the training guy goes, well, we need your IDs because we're going to criminally trespass you from here. He said, excuse me? Get to tell him, hey, we left on our own accord. We were waiting for a supervisor. Then even Cedillo realized, he goes, so we're good? No, we're going to still criminally trespass you. Are you sure? Well, okay, I'll tell you what, boys. We're just going to trespass. It's just as good as a criminal trespass, but we're just going to trespass.
just going to verbally
What, so
trespass.
you're telling me I can't go back in there and go back up on the 4th floor? Yeah. Oh, okay.
So, well, what if I
So
want to
now-
access? What if I want to access the
And-
public
and-
space?
and-
So, well, you got to call them.
Officer that took the.
So,
I
wow.
was assaulted. It wasn't like I slammed into the wall, but I'm an old guy.
He was hip checked.
I needed to sit down. I'm trying to walk to sit down. As I go to sit down, he hip checks me into the wall. You can hear the thud of the wall.
I included that portion of your explanation in
Yeah.
my supplemental portion of it too.
Did you have a report number on that, buddy?
It's the same one.
Same one?
I
Okay, so
wrote it in addition
I'll
to
make sure to ask for the supplementals on that today.
Yep.
Because there's we're gonna attack things a little bit differently.
Instead of giving you a whole bunch of case numbers, I figured it'd make it easier.
Perfect.
It's the same case number.
Yeah.
Just go-
I'm not looking for special treatment. I just don't want to get, believe me, I don't want the special treatment.
Yeah.
I just want to be treated like anybody else.
Equal treatment under,
And I live
under
equal
the
treatment
law.
under the law.
I documented it in a way I perceived it, the way you were telling me.
Perfect.
It is a little bit more in detail than the previous report.
I mean,
Excellent.
obviously, our presence within the community at times hasn't painted the best of portraits of individuals, not through my effort. That's not my intent. I just ask questions.
Yeah.
And if I can get an answer, fine. If I don't get an answer, fine. I can't force anybody to do anything. I can insist that you follow the law.
Yeah, absolutely.
And let me do something real quick. I'm hoping that you remember, and if you didn't, because I try to do this, I don't like to just be that guy that comes in and bitches. If there's anything that I can do to help somebody learn, so that in the future they're ever asked the question, you know the 5 elements of the First Amendment?
Not specifically, no.
No, and that's
Well,
fair.
let's
Because
start with.
Our First Amendment as a police department is really, really limited, and you mentioned it before,
In public service, there's some things that we sign up for that we have to.
Well, let me, on one hand, religion, assembly. People don't like this one, press.
Press.
Petition and speech. RAPS, R-A-P-P-S.
Yeah. And I thought you were asking in another context, I apologize.
No, that's, well, they're the 5 elements of the First Amendment and freedom, you know, those constitutional freedoms.
5 freedoms.
There's things that Supreme Court's ruled on certain things that they've made what they call the case law, that now all these rules get
Certain exceptions.
written around some judge some time ago said that it was okay, so maybe it's still okay, so we're gonna write our laws around it, so if somebody fights it, we can go back to something 30 years ago where, wait a minute, we can tell them that they can't drink at the drinking fountain just as long as the drinking fountain's not in public. Yeah. Hey, if you get a chance, look at the videos.
Yeah.
Is there a way I can give you a call so I can include myself
I can give you my email, please.
or email or something?
Yeah, that'll be definitely helpful.
Because,
Emails
you
even
know, not that I don't
better in
want
some
anything
cases.
now, it's just that I'm trying to save what little life I've.
We're not gonna spam you or nothing.
You know, I don't have 30 years left, I don't think. So,
I don't think I do either. I don't have business cards.
I hope
so,
you do.
That's why I'm getting.
I hope you both do.
I've never been issued business cards.
Because I do. I know I do.
I came from a different division.
Well, we're just talking about that on the right here, is if they spent less money on pink trespassing slips, if they get people that don't have a way to fight it or link the time on it, all that printing costs could give you guys business cards.
Business cards
Like I
instead.
said before, most of my career came from, I was in narcotics. So
Yep.
I was out of public.
I mean,
Well, that division's probably gone down a lot with
Real
the.
quick on this, I went to the Air Force Base, him and I. We'd been there 6 months before with my wife, 50 years of being married. Pulled up to the gate, just him and I. Gave him my ID, gave him his ID. The guy took one look at him. He says, "Is that all he's got?" Well, yeah, he's got a flyable real ID. You can get on base. It worked 6 months ago. Well, we've changed the policies here. He said, "You're gonna have to go get to room center and get a visitor's pass." "Oh, cool. No problem. Turn me around." I guess he didn't like the way I said, "Turn me around." Like I was probably getting ahead of him.
Yeah.
Okay, hey, if I can't, turn me around then. So he gives him his ID back. He's holding mine. He's walking around, he starts talking to the girl that was helping him at the gate. Not even a busy time of day. I've been there when it's busy. You know, you give him the ID, you go through. There's nobody behind me. Yeah. He's there, he's walking around, comes, look at the back of my plate. He goes, this and that. And finally, the girl walked by and says, "Hey, can you tell me what the frick the holdup is?" "Just a minute." She goes, talks to him, gets a smile on his face. He comes back up to my car, he looks down. "You got a problem?" "Yeah, I got a fucking problem." "What the fuck's the holdup?" Quiet as a church mouse from that point. Not a single word coming out of his mouth. "Hey, I just want to get out of here. Turn me around." "What? Is this Nazi Germany now?" What? And we're giving it to him. He pulls his camera out. Now the guy sees that he's on camera. And he still shuts up. "Turn me around, dude. Are you the stupidest guy on the planet today? Just let me go." I got business to do. I don't need to be held up with you just because you got a gun and a badge thinking you can. I ain't done nothing wrong. Let me go. Well, we asked for a supervisor. Supervisors pull up in their little rig. He starts to walk toward him. I get out of my car. Well, you gotta get back in your car, sir. I said, no, I don't. Because I know better. I don't have to get back in my car once I'm out of it. Right? I start telling the officers, this guy's screwed up here. It's all on camera, right? By that time, it went live. Now we're live to the internet. Hundreds of thousands of people watching what happened, right? The officers, after 10 minutes of conversation where I'm just explaining to him what just occurred and that we have it on camera, hooks me up. Then they come to the car, because he's sitting in the car, get him out of the car and hook him up. Who hooks him up? The guy that was at the shack. As soon as he's hooked up, he goes to the hood of the car and shuts his camera off. That's a criminal federal offense, to shut off the person's camera when it's rolling, especially during that kind of a thing. The day of the incident, they gave him a ticket for obstruction. But when he got out of the car and he asked why he was being detained or arrested, oh, you'll find out. I said, what do you mean I'll find out? But then he realized he needed to tell him, and he tried to give him some uniform code of military justice, disrespecting an officer, right? And he's not even a military guy, so it doesn't pertain to him, right? He gets his charge that day. We both ask for medical, because I'm hooked up and I'm on medication for certain things, and it interfered with my pain levels, let's say. Transport me to the VA, we transport him to UNM, and we're both released. Now I have no car, I've got no wheels, I've got to call family. My family picks me up. We find him trying to walk toward us. We go back we find out that my car is being held at A1 towing. It's like 5:30 in the afternoon, they're closed. I can't go back to the next morning. I go back to the next morning, it's there. We question the guy at the tow yard. They do a lot of towing up here. Yeah, in the last 6 months, people come. So we put a story out on that. Now, they give him his paperwork that day. I get home, they're gonna charge you, yeah. Then later on in the mail, the next day, we go back to the police station, or
To the gate,
security.
the main gate.
No, we went to the Truman Center to get a pass,
Yeah, the main gate.
okay? And they tell us that they're gonna send somebody over. They send the same people over.
Yeah.
I'm trying to report that on my key ring,
When he picks up his vehicle.
right, I have my narcotic medication. I keep the prescription in the car and in my wallet. It's on here. This was not on my keys when I picked it up, nor was the $25 coupon that was in my wallet to go to the commissary that made me want to go there to begin with.
Just missing.
Right. So now we're inquiring, well, what happened to, oh, we took it. What do you mean we took it? Who's we? BOFA.
It's a bofa.
Well, he begins to explain, he says, well, yeah, he says, when I was throwing your keys on the floor, it just popped apart. We thought we broke it. We were trying to put it back together, and all of a sudden, we saw all these white things in there. Those couldn't be on base. It never was on. Number one, I'm now having to try to defend myself for doing something that I didn't, I'm not doing anything wrong, but I have to walk down your rabbit holes. Number one, I never was on your base. The car was parked at the line. You just didn't let me in or want to turn me around. And the only reason that you knew what was in here is because when I'm speaking to EMT and I'm having a conniption about just being hooked up because of some asshole at the gate that just wants to play, he ain't got nothing better to do than screw with people, right? Mm-hmm. We have to go to court. You got to appear here at a certain date in October. So we go, and we walk in, some JAG officer out of uniform, sits down, he's late, half hour. Call my name, sit down, looks at me, says, tell me what happened. I said, excuse me? I said, aren't we still living in America? I says, ain't I innocent, like, till you guys try to prove me guilty? First off, I'd like to know what kind of rules are we operating underneath here? And I see I'm in a district court, but are we operating under the rules of civil procedure, criminal procedures, the UCMJ, or some other kind of rules? I can't tell you that. I says, what, just tell us what happened. She said, no sense to get hostile. So what do you mean, no sense to get hot? Well, I understand why you're hot. Well, if you understand why I'm hot, then why am I here? Why am I actually here?
Yeah.
Well, that little thing got dismissed. Because I had to go to my phone and go to .gov and show them my prescription that I had it, and see on the probable cause statement on the ticket that there was actually no probable cause to even have me there to begin with. It was all, well, he called us a chicken shit, and he called us this, and he called us that. They're trying to claim that I was obstructing the guard because I'm chewing him out because he gave me a hassle, and I'm just giving him words. So I didn't get charged for that. But they still wanted to, a month later, I get another citation in the mail for the actual obstruction. I'm telling the JAG, are you guys nuts? I said, I just proved your probable cause statement for this was so bogus, they're just trying to give me something to make their bogus arrest look good.
Yeah.
He's like, well, it's only $300. It's only $300 if you pay the ticket.
Is that to Bernalillo County District Court, or is that a
Federal.
Okay.
Federal court.
Yeah. They
And
did
then
it
we're
in the
finding
federal.
out that the
Charged with the NMSA
you
in
do
federal.
business there, you walk into the court, they got a little video playing. You understand your rights, blah, blah, blah. Then you walk in, did you watch the video? Yeah.
No sitting judge.
Checkbox. Well, just because I watched the video doesn't mean I understand it. And and there's
thing.
nobody there to answer any questions. There's nothing being recorded. Hey, is anything I say here going to be used against me? No. And then I say something, and then later it's used against me. Well, how can I prove that I was told that it wasn't used against me, because I can't walk into the court with a camera?
Crazy.
Hey, I appreciate your time. I hope you can understand what I'm
No.
trying to get
Thank you so
accomplished.
much.
I can't.
I'm definitely beginning to start to understand a lot of
What the frustration
And
is.
it takes that interaction sometimes, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to be hostile. I'm just trying to understand.
Well, let's just work one thing at a time. You know what we'd like to see as far as this particular case. You know that I want this guy charged. I want this guy who's grabbing his nuts. And we, like I said, sent you the video. He definitely assaulted him 100%. Actually battered him because he hip checked him. I consider the nut grabbing stuff, that's a sexual assault as far as I'm concerned. Like, I don't want some dude being able, anybody to have to deal with that.
New boot police.
Make an
officer
example,
being
as far as I'm concerned.
mistrained let him think.
Yeah.
That just because some member of the public is in a private building, and that the people in the private building want him gone, that can't occur through him.
Yeah.
It has to be the people in the private building that actually do it. But the officer has to be able to write in his report that these people are trespassing him, and they're not living up to their lease agreement with the city.
Right, that part too, yeah. Because there's going to be...
It takes it out of it takes the burden off from you, or anyone like yourself, of trespassing somebody, similar to what they're doing with the library staff. Right. If the library staff
it goes back down to that liability contract thing, yep. So
I'd rather go down in history as somebody that just tried to set the record straight.
yeah.
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 Understandable.
Thank you.
All right, Lieutenant. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Enjoy your day.
It's funny until it's not funny. No, no touchy coppers. It's funny until it's not funny. No touchy coppers. Who wouldn't want to stop the cops from putting their hands on people? Unless the crime they commit warrants it. Equal treatment under color of law. Another mistreatment of justice. It's funny till it's not funny. No, no touchy coppers. Oh, touchy coppers. Touchy coppers. Fuck the loyal order of leather. This conspiracy is not a theory. Brady listings, what a bunch of pig shit. Honor's a terrible thing to waste. Oath breaking's made easy. Honor's a terrible thing to waste. Breaking the oath is easy. It's funny till it's not funny. No, no touchy coppers. No touchy coppers. No touchy coppers. A season of snooze alarms sounding general quarters, nickels, dimes for change. Pomp display of reverence of the fallen, clearly for those failing daily. Ignorance of law enforcers, no excuse by now. Sign the oath and live it. Sign the oath and live it. It's funny till it's not funny. No, no touchy coppers. It's funny till it's not funny. No touchy coppers.